While we cannot predict what the future holds, one thing that we know will always remain a constant is that there will never be a shortage of problems in the world. As a result, one of the most important skills that our students need to have is the ability to be problem solvers and problem finders. Today, I'm so excited to show you some of the highlights from one of my design thinking workshops where we explore how the principles of design thinking can create environments that foster creativity, nurture curiosity, and create collaborative approaches to problems that we can solve and find. One of the things that's important to keep in mind about design thinking is that it is something that can be brought into your traditional curriculum. A lot of times when we hear the term, we think that it's associated with maker spaces or technology electives or other courses, but it's not something that I can do in history or in English or in math or in science. And so one of the biggest goals of the workshop is to really begin exploring how we can take the mindsets that come about from engaging in design thinking, the skills that we get as a result of engaging in the framework, and bring those into our traditional curriculum. Mindsets such as being able to learn from failure, being able to develop creative confidence, being able to embrace ambiguity, but above all, really being able to develop a sense of empathy. Oftentimes, these types of learning experiences, when you integrate design thinking and project-based learning, look very different than they did in the past. For example, it's not as simple as just giving students certain directions and having them all turn in the same type of project. So the way in which we scaffold instruction, the way in which we organize materials, the way in which we create activities and lessons, and the way in which we organize those is going to look different. So being able to have the opportunity to really be the student in that role allows you to really create things that are going to be more beneficial to creating a more successful environment when you move in this direction. Now, one of the things that differentiates design thinking from so many of the frameworks that we hear about, that we read about, is that design thinking begins with empathy. And a lot of times when you begin with empathy, what you think is often challenged by what you learn. So for example, there's a lot of educators who believe that no, design thinking is not possible in traditional curriculum. I can't bring creativity into my math classroom, or my science classroom, my history classroom. And what's really powerful about these different types of design thinking challenges that we engage in is that as they have conversations with one another about how they might redesign environments that are engaging and that foster curiosity and creativity and collaboration, the insights that they get from those different conversations really empower them to know that yes, this is possible, and yes, this can be done within the confines of my classroom. John Dewey once said, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. And one of the most beautiful things about the design thinking process and watching educators engage in the different design thinking challenges is that they learn that things that once seemed completely impossible are now manageable when broken down into small steps. Above all, one of the best parts about design thinking is that it's an iterative process, which means that your first try won't be your last try. It's so important when moving in this direction and trying to bring change and innovation into your classrooms that you begin with small steps that lead to larger goals. If you're interested in learning more about design thinking, visit me across all my social media channels or my website, www.askmsq.com.